Lesson 4 is on slope-intercept form. So again, we're going to continue working on slope. This is going to be a little bit different from direct variation in pretty much about one or two ways. And we're going to talk about that as we go through the slope-intercept form. And you're visually going to see some of the differences. Okay? Well, what exactly is slope-intercept form? Well, it's a way that the equation is written. And they call it slope-intercept form because when you look at this form, you can immediately pick out the slope and the y-intercept. So if you take a look, whatever your coefficient is of x, so whatever number is with your x, that's going to be your slope. And then whatever number you're adding to or subtracting from your mx is going to be your y-intercept, meaning that's where it's going to cross the y-axis. So that's why we call it slope-intercept form. Very easy to pick out your slope and to pick out your y-intercept. Okay, let's look at your first example. State the slope and the y-intercept of the graph of the equation y equals 2/3 x minus 4. Okay, so we want to pull out the slope and we want to pull out the y-intercept. Well, if we take a look at our equation right here, y equals mx plus b. Okay, well, your slope is your m, so here's your slope 2/3 because that's your coefficient of x, and your y-intercept is -4 because that's what we're adding on to or subtracting from your mx. So slope is 2/3, your y-intercept is 4. Okay. All right, go ahead and pause the video. All we're doing is we're picking out the slope and the y-intercept. Actually, let's go ahead and we'll do the first one together, and then you can do b and c on your own. Okay, if we want, this is written in slope-intercept form. Okay, look, y equals mx plus b. M is your slope. So your slope is -5. Your y-intercept is 3. Okay, so you pull out the slope and the y-intercept for the next two. Go ahead and pause the video and then we'll check them when you're done. All right, in this equation, y equals 1/4 x minus 6. Okay, in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. M is your slope, which is 1/4, and your b is your y-intercept, which is -6. Again, that minus makes your 6 negative. Okay, it's -6. So this, when you go to graph this, this is going to have a slope of 1/4, and it's going to cross the y-axis at -6. For letter C, here you don't necessarily have a number written with the x, but we know that when you don't have a number, it's 1, and in this case it's a -1. So your slope is a -1, and then your y-intercept is a 5, meaning that when you graph this equation, your line is going to cross the y-axis at a +5. Okay, so again, y equals mx plus b. M is your slope, b is your y-intercept. That's why it's very handy to have equations written in slope-intercept form, because it's very easy to graph from. Okay, now we're going to go backwards. They're going to say write an equation in slope-intercept form when the slope is -3 and the y-intercept is -4. Well, again, here's your form. Y equals mx plus b. M is your slope. Well, if we come back up here, we know that the slope is -3. So we're going to put a -3 with the x. And our y-intercept is -4, so we're going to put a -4 on the end. So your final answer is y equals -3x minus 4. All right, now, we're going to, this time they're going to give us a line, and they're going to tell us to write the equation from it. So write an equation in slope-intercept form for the graph shown. Well, you guys know how to find slope. Okay, remember doing your triangle? So if we pick these 2 points, look at your triangle. This has a length of 1, your rise is 1, your run is 2. So your slope is -1/2, and it's negative because we're going downhill. Okay, so we have the m part. The m part is -1/2. Now we need to find out, where does it cross the y-axis? Well, our line crosses the y-axis at 1, 2, 3, 4. Right here. This is our y-intercept. Okay, here's your y-axis. It crosses at 4. So your final equation then, right here, y equals -1/2 x plus 4. And that's all you have to do. You just have to transfer those two things into your y equals mx plus b form. All right, now it's your turn. The first thing you have to do is write an equation from this line. Then E, write an equation when they tell you what the slope and the y-intercept is. So go ahead and pause the video and try these two problems. Okay, so let's look at D. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for the graph. So if we take a look, the first thing we're going to have to do, let's find our slope. So let's make our triangle. Okay, let's check out our rise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our rise is 5. Our run, 1, 2, 3, is 3. So our slope is going to be 5/3. Now let's check out, where does it cross the y-axis? Well, here's our y-axis, and our line crosses right here. So that's going to be at a -2. Okay, so our equation then is, let me just get rid of that, y equals 5/3 x minus 2. Because again, it crosses at -2, so that's why we have a -2. And our slope is 5/3, which we found using our triangle that we learned in previous lessons. Okay. Now let's look at E. Write an equation of the line in slope-intercept form with a slope of 3/4 and a y-intercept of 3. So we'll start off y equals mx. M is our slope, and we know our slope is 3/4. So mx plus our y-intercept. So we got -3 because it's a -3. And that's what we do for when we're given a line, okay? Very easy to do. As long as you know how to find the slope and you know where the y-intercept is, very easy to write an equation. All right. What we want to do next, this is the last thing in this lesson, we want to interpret the y-intercept, meaning what does the y-intercept mean when given a certain graph? Let's look at this example. Student Council was selling t-shirts during Spirit Week. It cost $20 for the design and $5 to print each shirt. The cost y to print x shirts is given by the equation y equals 5x plus 20. So graph y equals 5x plus 20 using the slope and the y-intercept. So if it's written in slope-intercept form, it's very easy to graph. Okay? We know that the y-intercept is 20, so that's going to be our first point. We're going to find where 20 is on the y-axis, and we're going to put a point. Remember last lesson when we were talking about direct variation? Where was our first point when we were doing direct variation problems? Well, it was the origin. That's one of the differences. Direct variation equations always go through the origin, and your first point will be at 0, 0. It's not the case with slope-intercept form. Your first point is going to be your y-intercept, so that's why this point is here. Now our slope is 5. And when we have a whole number, we know that our 5, we can actually write it like this. So our rise is 5. Our run is 1. Okay, so we're going to go up 5 and over 1. Now again, look at your intervals. Going up 1 is actually going up 5. So we're going up 5 over 1. There's a point. Up 5 over 1. Up 5 over 1. That is going to give us our line. Okay, so your first point will always be the y-intercept. When we were doing direct variation last lesson, it was 0, 0. But now we have a y-intercept. And then use your slope to get your next couple of points. Okay, let's take a look at this one. I'll help you out here. A taxi fare y can be determined by the equation y equals 0.5x plus $3.50, where x is the number of miles traveled. Okay, so your miles are going to be up here, and your price will be here. So it says graph the equation. Well, here is our y-intercept. Here's your first point. So we have to go on the y-intercept, on the y-axis, and find 3.5. Well, 3.5 is right here. Okay, right in between 3 and 4. From that point, we have to look at our slope. Our slope is 0.5, which is the same thing as 1/2, right? And if we look, rise over run, we're going to go up 1 over 2. So we're going to go up 1 over 2. 1, 2. Look at that. Up 1. Now remember, if I just go here, that's just a half. So here's a half, here's another half. That's 1. So up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. And then you can connect your points. Okay? It's just rise over run, same thing we've been talking about for the last couple lessons. Okay, now what they wanted us to do is interpret the slope and the y-intercept. And what that means is, what does that mean within the context of the problem? Okay? Well, the slope tells us that we are increasing at a rate of 50 cents. So what that means, it is 50 cents per mile. We are increasing 50 cents each mile. That's our constant rate of change. We are increasing 50 cents each mile. Now, the y-intercept, okay, right here, what does that y-intercept mean? Well, that means if you have gone 0 miles, your cost is going to be $3.50. So no matter how far you go, you're going to have to pay $3.50. It's like an extra fee. It's an additional cost. So as soon as you step in that taxi, you haven't gone 0 miles, you still have to pay $3.50. Then for every mile, you have to tack on 50 cents after that. Okay? What I want you to do for homework is I want you to go ahead and I want you to do the guided practice problems. So make sure when you come in tomorrow that you have the guided practice problems done. Okay? So we'll come in tomorrow, go over those, and get started.